All right, I think we're still waiting on Jem, but I'm going to go ahead and start hosting for the evening. As you know, I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Caroline and Matt. Hopefully Jem will be with us very shortly. Hello, guys. And this evening we're going to talk about the Video Game BAFTAs, otherwise known as the British Academy Film and Television Awards, but for games. So it's all very exciting. And then we're also going to delve into our own version of the BAFTAs, if you will, the GTS Awards. So hopefully we can get things going. I don't know I think she should pop up at some point, hopefully, but we'll crack on and kick off with just an overview of the 2021 Video Game BAFTAs, which were hosted earlier this year in March 2021 by the lovely Ellie, who was formerly from PlayStation Access. I will tell you her whole name. It's Ellie Osleywood, who's been working in video games for a fair while, and I thought was an excellent host for this year.
I agree.
Yes, indeed. And I didn't know, I had to look it up, but the Video Game BAFTAs has been running since 2004, so it's in its 17th year now, so still a teenager in age terms, but still relatively new, I would say, to the whole awards sort of compilation, if you will, which is always interesting. So I'm going to kick off with the first question, which would be, what are your general thoughts on the BAFTAs of this year? If anyone wants to jump in at any point.
I'll go.
Go on then, Matt.
So, I like Elle Osleywood as well. I enjoyed her on PlayStation Access. And the fact that Dara O'Brien stopped hosting, and instead of just getting another random white guy, they chose a woman of colour. That's good. I'm pleased to see them leaning into the diversity side of things, showing that the intersectional side of the culture war is winning. They're getting more diverse, not less diverse. So that goes for the game developers as well. And of course, I was over the moon about The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes.
Those are all my highlights.
Did quite well, really, didn't it? But yes. Anything that stood out particularly for you, Caroline?
Yes, sorry, I was. Jem does say she's here, by the way, and just needs to be added.
Okay, I'll find her. Hopefully. There she is. Sorry. I'm sorry, Jem. There you go. Sorry. It's my first time doing this, everyone. I really apologise. Have you been waiting the whole time? I'm very sorry. But yeah, that's good.
So my thoughts on the BAFTAs were, I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect to enjoy it. I thought, oh God, I've got to watch this now. So short, and I have very short attention span. So one, I was quite pleased that it was only 2 hours long, actually, because the real BAFTAs can be much longer. But yeah, I felt it was overall really uplifting. And I know we go on about how much we love doing this, which sounds really over the top, but we do love doing this podcast, and it kind of was like, oh yeah, this is the stuff we've been saying. We've been saying like gaming brings people together, and it's a wonderful way to keep life going during the pandemic, and it's only getting better, and more people are getting involved from all sorts of different backgrounds, and like I really kind of felt like the message was really positive behind a lot of it. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed seeing Jennifer Hale, because like now we've been doing all this research. I know who Jennifer Hale is, and I know that I know who she is, and that I love her. Anyway, so yes, positive to answer your question, Alex.
Excellent. Well, that's good to know. Jem, what are your thoughts overall on the 2021 Video Game BAFTAs?
Okay, so I have to hold my hands up and say that I have had a week from hell, and I have not been able to have a look at them. And despite the fact that you shared the link and everything, and I really intended to do that today. So I'm coming here to represent the layperson who knows nothing about this, and I'm really interested to hear about what we're going to say today, and then I can go away and watch it.
Lovely stuff. Well, I think the key takeaways for me was the focus on how games connect us I think that was the main theme of the BAFTAs this year, given that in the light of the pandemic, how gaming has brought a whole swathe of new people together, because there's not a lot else to do, really. And also it shows that gaming is a great way to connect with other people, whether you know them or not, but also you can be half the world away and still form a relationship and have fun together. So I think that was the key takeaway. And there was definitely a focus, I think, on diversity and inclusion for this year as well. Having not watched many of them, only snippets of them previously in previous years, like with a sort of passing interest, if there was a game that I liked, that I knew was nominated or something, I would watch for that category. But I would never sit and watch the whole thing. So again, it was interesting for me to actually sit and watch the whole thing as well. There were some interesting categories, I thought. Some that they would probably have to do some explaining for, but I'll definitely run through those at some point this evening. And my next question would be, following on from that, do you normally watch the BAFTAs? And if so, or if not, why?
No. It was weird because my first response to that was like, oh, I had no idea they existed. And then I thought, well, no, I did actually. I kind of did, because you see like BAFTA nominated or BAFTA winner on games on Steam and stuff like that. So obviously I did somewhere deep in my brain know that. But no, they just, I think that they should be getting more of a because genuinely I thought that was more of a fun event than the proper, as it were, the film BAFTAs. I thought that it was a much better event and I enjoyed it far more, even though there was no audience and it's online and stuff. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jem, what do you mean, you obviously... I don't know if you normally do. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't normally watch them, probably for the same reason as Caroline said. And I'm also a little bit dubious as to how much of this is about just, industry patting itself on the back. So it's like, I always feel like I should watch the Academy Award winning movies and things like that, and then I never actually do, because, or when I do, I sometimes find them quite disappointing because that people are looking at them for a different perspective, I think. So I'm usually dubious about these things, so I don't tend to watch them, but I may change my mind now after tonight.
Mm-hmm. And Matt, what about you?
Well, it's one of those things that I normally I forget about until it pops up and I go, oh, okay. But then what I normally do is I'll wait until afterwards, find out what the results are, and then go back and watch the bits of the stuff I'm interested in. And if it's particularly good, it'll hold my interest if it's a particularly interesting like set of things, like a game called Hades, which everyone was going on about, which will feature later on in the answers to one of my nominations. That's me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I have fairly similar feelings to Jem in that I feel like when you think of the BAFTAs, I obviously think of the Film and Television Awards, and how much of that is more about the show rather than the films themselves, and it's about the people that make them all sort of chumming up together and being like, oh, look how great we are, let's congratulate ourselves. And it's not really about what people actually think. It's not like the layman's person, like their view of what a great film is compared to like the Hollywood elites and all that sort of stuff. So I guess coming into games, I kind of had that perspective about it, whether it might be just sort of the same thing over, but I definitely feel like with the Gaming BAFTAs it's a bit different really, because the community is different, and I think that definitely speaks to a lot of us in that it's about all these different types of gamers, and reflecting that is, I think, a really important part of any sort of show that awards people for their achievements in gaming and that sort of thing.
And I think there's far less ego in video game development because the focus of all film and TV is the actors, and So all you need to do is show up and you have to treat them like royalty. But in video game development, everyone has to work their arse off equally. And so no one there goes, oh, if they see my name on something, like with Henry Cavill, for example, he gets paid the big bucks because just by having him on screen, you're going to guarantee to make hundreds of millions of dollars. That doesn't exist with game developers. So I think that really helps because they know it's such a holistic, everyone contributing to create something. You can't think, oh, this is only good because I'm here.
Yeah, the speeches were much more reflective of that as well. They're like, thank you. It was like, this is a huge team and we're taking the award on behalf of a huge team. There was only one, I can't remember who it was now. There's a woman who won, I think it must have been one of the voice acting awards because she did get a little bit, oh my God, over the top at one point. And but it was noticeable for how out of place it was compared to the other speeches and thanks and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Matthew McConaughey is such a wanker. I hate him. He was the taking his shirt off guy for decades. Then he disappeared for a bit, then came back with True Detective and Interstellar and was brilliant. But then he keeps on going on about this. I want, my hero is me in 10 years' time. I want to live up to who I'm going to be in 10 years' time. And gave that speech every opportunity he had. So that's the kind of egotism that I'm glad isn't there in the Game Awards.
There we go. We've all learnt something tonight, everybody. That's great. So my third question is, following on from that, if a game has won a BAFTA, are you more likely to play it as a result? Or does that not matter to you? Are you more about, I'm just going to play the games I enjoy and it doesn't matter if it's won a BAFTA or not? Or does it influence your decision?
Well, it's just interesting what, Jem, you were saying, and you, Alex, about how, like, with the real... I've just got to stop saying the real, sorry. With the film and TV BAFTAs, more so with the Oscars, I think. If I see a film has won an Oscar, I'm quite like, oh, I'm not watching that, it's going to be boring as hell. Whereas I think I don't feel the same about the Gaming BAFTAs. As I say, I've noticed before that the little, like, Senua's Sacrifice was one that I remember caught my eye originally because it's got the big BAFTA winner thing on it. And I think actually I'm more likely to buy a game because it's won a BAFTA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. As somebody who's didn't even manage to find the time to watch it for the show, I would absolutely say that, yeah, if I see that on the game packaging, I'm more likely to go like, oh, it must be a good game. She's very contradictory there.
I think as well, having seen the games that won and the games that were nominated, I felt like there was a lot of games that I've played that I knew. I was like, okay, so this is about the sort of games that we're playing and that we're getting involved in. It's not obscure. I mean, it would have been nice to see a few more indie games recognised, but it's not about, who's got the most obscure, high ideal, poncy experimental game possible. It's like, it's actually a really sort of like, these are proper games that people enjoy.
Yeah, one thing that properly pisses me off about another thing about film and TV, particularly film, is when you have blatant, this is my Oscar role, this is my Oscar film. I'm going to play this black, gay, disabled lesbian with a disabled child living in poverty in the middle of Bogota fighting for her rights. And you go, you're not making this to be interesting. You're making this because you want a fucking Oscar. You're trying to tick loads of boxes to go, oh, give me an Oscar. This is so interesting, but it's not. It's an exercise in ego, which is impossible with games because it takes so much work to create any kind of game. But yeah, it's a yes and no. It's different for film and TV as it is to games because it's more likely to make me to play a game that I would never normally look at.
Yeah.
But similarly, if it's a game that if it's a game that I'm already perhaps looking at, then it doesn't really impact me. It doesn't tip me over the edge necessarily. It's more likely to make me see something I've never seen before and go,
Yeah, I think I feel like it does kind of influence me in the way that if it's a game that I already know that I have, I feel a bit prouder of that game. I'm like, oh, well, my game's got a BAFTA, for such and such. But if I'm looking in the store and it's like in the sale, I'll find games and they'll say like BAFTA nominated, or sometimes they do in the description, not all the time. But, if you've heard of it being nominated or in the BAFTAs and you know that there's all this talk around it, it probably is going to make you think, well, maybe I should check it out. Because, people have nominated it and awarded it for a reason. So hopefully you would hope that it would be a good game as a result, particularly if it's for like a certain category of games that you like, for example, which is always interesting. But yeah, I would say it does kind of swing me a little bit in terms of the games that I buy. I mean, obviously I have the games I know I'm going to buy because I'll always play those types of games, the ones like Assassin's Creed and all that sort of thing, which do occasionally get nominated, which is always good. But then it's also the smaller games I might never have looked at, like the indie games that get awarded and nominated, that you should. It does influence you to just take a second look and think, well, is this one that I should maybe have a look at some trailers and all that sort of thing. So I think it is good generally for just increasing awareness, particularly of smaller indie developers and smaller games as well. So on to the next question. There was quite a focus on equality, diversity and inclusion generally within the whole awards ceremony. I believe the fellowship during the ceremony was actually awarded to Siobhan Reedy, who was all to do with Media Molecule, and she was kind of behind a lot of games like Tearaway and Dreams and stuff like that. And she did cite her mother as a very, very influential person to her, and she was a feminist, so that was quite nice to read. But in terms of the general focus on equality, diversity and inclusion, do you feel that that's needed and a welcome thing, or is it more of a performative thing that you sometimes see from a lot of different places these days? What are your thoughts on the subject?
I think that, there were performative aspects in some way. So I think that if we're starting with the negatives, I don't know why I'm starting with the negatives, but anyway, women of colour, obviously we've got Elle Sillywood as the presenter, but apart from that, I think I spot, and not including montages, I think I spotted there was 2 other women of colour in the entire 2-hour show. They were massively underrepresented. There was no people with visible disabilities. So, this is not perfect. And there was still far too many beardy white dudes, which, sort of whenever, what have you got against white men? It's just nothing. It's just that, yes, I know, we've got a beardy white dude on the show. But, the majority of the people in the world are not white men. And so why are the majority of the people that we see on global events white men? And that's what then becomes the question. But all of that saying, it's not perfect, there's still a lot of way to go, I felt like the message there was sincere in most cases. So as you say, Siobhan, her speech was really good about how that she has a huge amount of privilege and that she wants to use that privilege to help more people come forward and support more people in the industry, and that there's a lot of work to still be done. And I think the fact that there were role models from all sorts of backgrounds being shown, it wasn't a whitewash, but it felt genuine. It felt more genuine. I tell you what, it felt more genuine than E3. It felt like E3, all the companies were dragging out their diversity hires from the back cupboard and putting them up at the front, whereas this felt like, hey, this person's won an award and they happen to be a woman. This person's won an award and they happen to be a black guy. There was a lot more of that going on rather than people being dragged out. So I felt it, I think, progress, but not perfect, because you can always be better.
Jem, what do you think?
I absolutely think that it should be a part of the session. I think that's really important, and And I think that there is a risk. There's always a risk that it's just going to be performative. And I think, especially as organisations or establishments are starting to work their way into that whole area, because if they haven't been doing it to date, then it's going to be there is going to be a little bit of an effort. There is going to be a little bit of sort of pushing people to the front. And I think, so it sometimes does feel a little bit performative, but that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as it's part of an ongoing process of learning and improving. So, you have to give people time. And I think that it's very easy for us enlightened ones to sit here and judge, or other parts of society for not doing this well enough or whatever. But I think that it's also really important that we recognise that there's a learning curve for everyone. And so, yeah, absolutely, we want these things to be more inclusive. And we want it to not be performative. And I think all of these organisations and establishments need to have a proper think about that when they embark on that. Like, how is this going to come across? Why are we doing this? And to maybe actually invest some time and energy into genuinely understanding the issues that are involved, and not just looking at it as how do we sell more games or how do we become more established in this area. I think it's got to come from the heart, and I think if it comes from the heart, then those of us looking at it saying, are they doing this successfully, will feel more positive about it. So yeah, I mean, I can't comment on this exact session, but yeah.
Right. Matt, how do you feel?
I think it's actually quite useful that we've waited until now to do this episode, because we've had a perfect sort of case study of the spectrum of EDI recently, because we had Pride Month, where every company on the planet goes, woohoo, we're painting a rainbow flag by our shit, because we've got a rainbow flag, woohoo, support this. But then particularly in America, then they turn around and donate to Republicans who viciously hate anyone who isn't a straight white man. So that's the 100% performative side. So that's on the far end of the spectrum of people who don't care. But again, that's positive, because it shows that in the culture war, intersectionality is winning. Because it's more, they're not doing it, they don't do anything out of the kind of their heart. They do it because they want to make more money. And there are more people who are inclusive now than there are people who are exclusionary. The exclusionary people might be in more positions of power, but there are more people who are intersectional. So it shows there's money to be made, which means more corporations will start showing off more. But then that will mean that they have to back up their bullshit as much as they can. The more people pay attention to it, which is what they've been doing. And then there was, on the other end, there is the World Cup England team. They are intersectional. I think it's actually the best possible thing for the country that they lost in the way that they did. Because if they'd won, it would have been nothing but nationalist propaganda, and Boris Johnson would have ridden that wave to the next election and gone and forgot everything about COVID. But the fact that it was three black players that missed the penalties, and then all the racists piled on, and Boris Johnson and Priti Patel suddenly go, no, racism is bad, when they've been stoking it all the way through. But all this time, the England team has become a beacon of genuine inclusivity. And that's something that they live. It's not performative in any way. It's 100% genuine. That's the other end of the spectrum. And that is the people love them way more than they love the people who hate them and being able to hate them. So in terms of the culture war, there's the hating the black people and the loving the England team and the message they have. That loving side is winning. So overall, we're going in the right direction. I think the Game Awards sit nicely in the middle of places that are genuinely trying. It's not just about money. It's good for money, but there's also the genuine side of it. So, and I think with this culture war, there is no going back. You can't put love back in the bottle once someone's discovered it.
That's really lovely. But yeah, no, I think I would agree. I would agree with pretty much what everyone has said. I think it felt genuine to me, and I think it's a definite step in the right direction for sure. I definitely felt like, obviously, they're putting on a show because it's an award show, so there's going to be that glamorous aspect to it, and it's all very professional. But I did feel like the warmth was there and the love was there, and we have a lovely comment from one of our viewers. Love is winning. It is indeed. Yes. But I think the tagline of the BAFTAs generally is to honour outstanding creative achievement, and I think they pretty much succeeded in that this year, I would say. Which brings me on to a final question, and then I can actually run through what the nominees and winners for each award was, and we can have a chat about that as well. But I want to know, will you actually be watching next year, and what changes, if any, do you want to see?
I keep
Matt,
going first.
I'll pick someone else. Okay, Matt, what are you watching next year?
Probably do what I normally do, unless if it's in person and it's in London, and I like the presenters, I'd like to go and see it in person.
Yeah, of course, because that element was totally missing this year with it being COVID safe. It was all online. So that would definitely put another element to it, I would say. I think having an audience there is probably going to make it feel a lot more intimate in some ways, unless it's an absolutely massive stadium, of course. But yeah, I think that's definitely going to change it if it goes back to being in person. So, yeah. Jen, do you feel like you're going to watch next year? Or are you just going to wait for us?
Actually, I probably will watch next year. Now, I'm really like, I feel like I missed out. I did fully intend to watch it this week, and I just ran out of time. So, but I think, there's always enough time for the things that you make time for, isn't there? So, it's about prioritising. And I think, as I said, the BAFTA Awards logo does make a difference to my purchasing choices. So I think, with that in mind and having recognised that, I think I should really make the time to watch it. And I think, as long as it's not a 6-hour long epic, which, it isn't, then it's good. I think it's important to look at these kind of awards, because whatever we think about the choices that are made, it does influence where the money is going. So I think from our perspective, it's probably important, a sort of important guide as to how well we're doing in not how well our podcast is doing, but how well the general course is doing in promoting diversity and equality and all of those things, to see where that money is going and where the industry feels they should be supporting. So I think that's another reason to watch it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point in terms of as well. Like, so the award that was voted for by gamers rather than by the Academy was won by The Last of Us Part 2, which is really nice to see, because obviously we all know from Matt it's an amazing game. We all know from the critics that it's critically acclaimed. But it's really nice to see the gamers say, yeah, we really want games like this, intelligent, challenging, groundbreaking games. And as you say, Jem, that then leads the industry in a direction. So it's important. I enjoyed that. I'm definitely watching it again. Like, just don't introduce me to things. I'm a terrible addict of everything. And so once I get into something, it's like, right, well, I've got to watch that every year now for the rest of my life. And I can imagine it could be a really good atmosphere if it's possible for it to have safe live. But I think they did a really good job of doing it online.
Yeah.
Which isn't that surprising, considering that they are, game. Although I hope we all noticed that it was hilarious that the only technical difficulty they had in the whole show was during the award for technical achievement.
You couldn't write it, honestly. But yes, I'm going to attempt to do something fancy now and try and share my screen to show you all the winners of the 2021 Video Game BAFTAs. I did try and show you pictures while we were talking, but unfortunately I did download them somewhere onto my computer, but they're just not existing anywhere, so I can't upload them. But you can just imagine with your brains, I'm sure you've all got very imaginative brains. Let's see if I can hopefully try this. Let me see. Bear with everybody.
We'll just talk amongst ourselves, it's fine.
Can we all see this? Can we all see the screen?
No.
We've got... No? Interesting. That is interesting. I will stop then if it's not working. I'll just read it to you. So we can imagine, starting with the category of animation, we had The Last of Us Part 2. Artistic achievement was Hades. Audio achievement was Ghost of Tsushima. Hades got Best Game. Sackboy: A Big Adventure was the Best British Game. Carrion was the Best Debut Game. Sea of Thieves was the Best Evolving Game. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but we'll move on. Sackboy: A Big Adventure was the Best Family Game. Hades got the award for Game Design. Animal Crossing: New Horizons was a game beyond entertainment. Again, an interesting category. Animal Crossing: New Horizons, again, got multiplayer. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales was the best music. I was slightly disappointed that Assassin's Creed Valhalla wasn't even... I don't think it was even in the nominees, but I'm going to let that slide. It's fine. Hades got the best narrative. Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition got the best original property. Laura Bailey got the best performance in a leading role, which I think Caroline may have referenced earlier. Logan Cunningham was the best performer in a supporting role. Dreams got the technical achievement, and The Last of Us Part 2 was the EE Game of the Year, which was the one that all the public voted on. So there's quite a few games that got multiple awards there. So that's always quite interesting to see. And a few ones that I've never heard of as well. So.
Well, because I'd heard about Hades, and Matt, if you want to tell us about Hades, I'd love to know more, because it was recommended as something recently to me, and I'd had a quick look at the visuals, and I got, it's probably just another dungeon crawler roguelite. And then I noticed that it was nominated for all these story awards and acting awards. So, definitely I need to know more about Hades.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same.
Well, I won't tell you anything about it now because it's the answer to one of my...
sorry, yes. But I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
I have watched a documentary on it, actually. I think it's from NoClip. I may be misquoting that, but one of my favourite YouTube channels does documentaries on game design and game development, and they did a special documentary on Hades and the run-up to its launch. And you got to see all the development team and how much passion they put into it and how much work they put into it. And it was actually quite emotional. It was like an hour-long video. It was really, really good. So I can definitely buy into the Hades hype, even though I haven't yet played it, because I'm not used to that style of game. But I definitely think it's rated really highly among the gaming community at large.
I also thought it was really good that they are doing this, that their acting categories are non-gender specific. None of this best actor, best actress bullshit, which really annoys me at the other things, because it kind of suggests that there's a sort of standard that, we need to put the women in their own category because you couldn't possibly act on the same level as us chaps, And so, I was really nice to see them mixed up. And then, the supporting actor went to a man, the actor went to a woman, and it was just it was and it was really mixed, the nominations. And it was why can't we do that with the normal ones?
I know.
Sorry, I've stopped calling it the normal ones.
It's okay. It's fine. We all know it's all good. So, we have reached the halfway point of this episode. So we're going to move on, I think, to the GTS Awards. We should all be wearing smart clothes and things. So I'm going to kick off with the first award, which I have put down in my list as who gets your award for the best feminist game, which is a really hard one to start with. But yes, so I'm going to go for I'm going to be mean and pick Gem first, but we'll go with
Oh.
Gem. Don't worry, I'll rotate. It's fine. But no, to be honest, I haven't prepared at all for this, so I'm going to have like no answer. But it's a very difficult one. We could do like a group decision if we want. If anyone has any suggestions, we could be like, yes, I agree with that. Or,
Shall I volunteer as tribute?
Yes. Okay.
Or does Jen mind if I step in?
No, I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, Caroline.
What I was going to say is I really, really struggled with this because I thought there are games that are better at not being misogynistic than others. But a game that was overtly and obviously I know what I felt I knew what Matt might say, so I didn't want to steal that answer, and also I haven't played the game, so it wouldn't really be fair. So but I do think it is hard because I don't think there are a lot of overtly feminist games out there. I think there's games that aren't sexist, but there's very few of that. So I went with Sayonara Wild Hearts, which you might have seen I did a very short stream of it a while back with terrible sound quality, which I could do better now because I've worked out how everything works. But what I love about it is the plot is that there is a young woman in her bedroom really upset. And we get that her heart's broken, but we don't know why her heart's broken or who's broken her heart. Just her heart is broken. She has to go on a journey to fix her heart, and she does. And I found that really positive. There was no sort of, oh, I cried because my boyfriend left me or anything like that. But there's but it's also connecting with emotions that people feel, whether they're men or women, and having that sort of really positive message. It's also just a kick-ass game, but I really loved that sort of angle of it. Once there was a young woman, her heart was broken, but there's no sort of nonsense over why her heart was broken, and it just goes on from that. So that was my answer.
Cool. Thank you, Caroline. Matt, do you have one?
Mine's easy. Last was part 2.
Yes, yes. Excellent. Excellent.
Lesbian main character, bisexual, woman of colour, girlfriend, pregnant. Massive hench Abby as the anti-hero. Couldn't find a more feminist game.
Yeah, I find myself hard pressed to disagree there, I would say. But yeah, no, I struggled as well, obviously, because my gaming catalogue is pretty much very mainstream. And when you think about mainstream games, it's not really, it's very hard to come up with feminist games, as Caroline said. So I think that says more about like the mainstream aspects of society as well, in terms of the patriarchy and just how it invades everything generally. So, but yeah, we probably put forward those two as our nominees. So Wild Hearts.
Can I add one?
Well, go on then. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would probably add Life is Strange, just because it's primarily about two young girls kind of finding their way. And I haven't played the sequel, which I do have it. I just haven't played it. And I think it's nice to see young women exploring the world and seeing, and in together and not, being overtly reliant on the men around. And it does raise issues around sort of violence against women and girls. And, there is that element there as well. So I think but I think as you say, Alex, it is really telling, isn't it, how we can talk about war. That's an okay topic to have many games about. We can talk about sport, we can talk about like things that are viewed as kind of, I don't know, further ends of at the edges of society. We can talk about things, but feminism is one that we're so kind of like nervous to talk about, I think, in games. And I think that is telling as to who holds the power, really. So yeah.
Right, and with that, as host, I'm going to forfeit my answer because I can't think of one, and move on to our next category, which is, what is your most accessible game? I think my one I was going to mention was probably something along the lines of Jenny or Absi, just in terms of how easy it is to just get in and go for it and play. You just have to have a basic grasp of this button does this, and then there's another button, and that's it. And you can just enjoy exploring the world. It's not story heavy. There's not like loads of text explaining what you need to do. Like I said, the controls are straightforward, and it's just a lovely immersive game. So I think that would be my nominee for that category. Yeah. I feel like we're struggling, are we?
No. I'm trying not to be overly chatty, Caroline.
Okay. All right, I'll go for Matt then first. What's your most accessible game?
I'll just go with Sackboy. Just simple, something that a child can pick up and play.
Mm-hmm. It's a very family. I'd say it's more geared towards families as well. So it's like
still got quite a lot of
multi-generational.
recognition at the BAFTAs, actually, as
That's
well.
very true. Yes, Best British Game, and a couple of other ones. I think yes, we did run through earlier, but my mind has drawn a blank. Yes.
And I'm going to go with Daniel has just suggested Remains of Edith Finch, and
Yes.
I was wondering about, because I was also thinking about the name's just gone out of my head. The game that we talked about, the graffiti game.
Oh, the Concrete Genie.
Yes, Concrete Genie.
Yes.
I was thinking about that because my daughter just managed to pick that up and she loved it, and she really liked running along the rooftops, and it was puzzly without being too complex, and I think that was really good. But I do actually think that The Remains of Edith Finch is a really accessible game because it does have some sort of gaming aspects in it, but it's also very story driven, and it's just yeah, I think pretty much anyone could pick it up, anyone who's never gamed. And you don't need to have it's not very complicated control system. So yeah, I think it's quite an accessible game.
Lovely. Caroline?
I'm going to go on about my new latest obsession, which is Animal Crossing.
How exciting.
I can't stop playing Animal Crossing. I've played it every day since I got it, which is great because you get Nook miles for having played every day. And every day I turn it on in the morning. Like Oscar and I have our breakfast and our tea. And I'm like, right, we've got to see what Mr. Tom Nook's got to tell us today. Turn it on the big screen. I am so addicted to Animal Crossing right now. And I know I'm like a year late to this. I'm sorry, but it's brilliant. But it is just... But the thing is that while it is accessible and loads of people talked about it at the BAFTAs, there was a guy who was saying a lovely thing about how he celebrated New Year's Eve with his friends across Animal Crossing. Which I thought
did.
was so
I did
cool.
New Year's Eve on there. Yeah. Sad but true. Sad.
Which I was like, this is great. So I'm really loving that. But the thing is, it's accessible, but it's also exactly like all the other games I play. Like this is what Rust is. You go around, you collect rocks, you collect stones, you build things out of it, and you make your house. It's just that nobody's going to come and blow up your house with C4 on Animal Crossing, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's exactly my sort of game, but in a really relaxed and accessible and lovely way. So I think that's definitely my nomination for the most accessible game.
Lovely.
I read a review actually about Animal Crossing like a year ago, and they said that one of the nice things about it is that it forces you to slow down because there is only so much you can do in a day, and so
yes.
It forces you to just enjoy, stop and smell the flowers. Really, is what it encourages you to do, and I think that is actually quite a nice thing that we don't get in so many games, especially games that are aimed at a broad audience or a younger audience. In some cases it tends to be so frenetic at the moment, and I think
it's really good for my personality type in that way, because there is sort of like, it's like, Caroline, you've achieved everything you have to for today, turn it off. Tomorrow's going to be really exciting. It's actually making me get up earlier because in the morning there'll be something new, but it won't be there until then.
Because it runs at real time, doesn't it? So if you choose this, so I always had a trouble because my main gaming time is in the evenings, and so I was only ever able to see the world at night. And I was like, I want to go in the day because there are some things that only come out during the day. So yeah,
I'm doing all this breakfast gaming at the moment. It's weird.
Well, you've heard it here first. Animal Crossing is great for social prescription. Doctors should put it out on prescription. If you need to get up early, play Animal Crossing. It's all good. Okay, so we have our next category, which is your most overrated or underrated game. I'm going to be nice and let you pick which one you'd prefer to talk about. I think we may have answered this previously in a bonus round, so if we want to skip, we can, and I can move on to a different category. But if you have a new overrated or underrated game, then please do share.
I just thought it was worth mentioning that I was really both surprised and happy to see Deep Rock Galactic flash up in the BAFTAs, because I know I've spoken to you guys about it before, but I've not heard anybody else talk about it, and I didn't realise. I was like, somebody else likes it, yay! And it was nominated for Best Multiplayer, and I do think it's a massively underrated game from that point of view. I think more people should be playing Deep Rock Galactic. But just, it is one of those things that you can play with a friend, and there's 4 different roles you can fulfill, you know, whether you're like the digger or the shooter or the whatever, but they're all really well balanced, so you never feel like you've been stuffed when you get stuck with one of those roles, and you want to switch around them all the time. So yeah, I think Deep Rock Galactic I'd nominate it for my most underrated game.
Just got a comment in the chat here I'm going to have to show from Tom. He says, not even Tom Nook could make me a morning person. It's very true. It's very true.
I love that.
Also, I've been warned by Daniel not to diss Final Fantasy VII, so I will officially not diss it if you're going to be... Okay, fine. I'll stay silent. Okay. Jem, do you have a most overrated or underrated game you'd like to share?
Well, I think we've talked. I think I said before that I think Fortnite is really overrated. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I found it really tedious. I'm not a first-person shooter person, so I that is obviously my immediate problem. I don't enjoy it. I'm not quick enough at all of that. I'm like still turning around and I'm dead. I did have a time many years ago. You might have heard of a game called Quake that people used to play in the olden days, and I managed to work my way through the first one of those games, and I was so proud of myself. And I did it a single player, but then I went on to the online multiplayer game, and I literally couldn't stay alive for more than 10 seconds, and it just made me so cross. So I think I do have a bit of a negative view of those kind of games, but I just find Fortnite so inane. I think that's the thing. I think it's just over and over again running around, and I don't. It just feels like I think because I like story-driven games, I like games that are or builder games, which I just feel like at least then you're creating something or you're exploring something, and this just feels you're just hammering something, and it just doesn't. It doesn't change, and there's no interaction. There's no, and I think that's why when people do talk about them, those moments where you're like with the last few people, and suddenly you find you team up, or neither of you wants to kill the other, and there's this sort of connection that you make. I think people do talk about that as though that's like, that's the thing they're aspiring to from the game, and I think for me that tells you everything that's wrong about that game, that is something that these people are craving and the game is not giving it to them. And I just think so, yeah, for me it's Fortnite. Sorry.
I agree with you, but I've discovered a streamer on Facebook recently called Sizzle Dragon, who I really like their vibe. I really like everything they're doing, but they're streaming Fortnite all the bloody time, and
message them and say, have you heard of other games?
Stream something else just for me, thank you.
Matt, did you want to add anything, or are you good?
I'm going to do both. Underrated would be Cyberpunk 2077 because it was massively overshadowed by all of the problems it had, and being taken off the PlayStation Store for a year, and basically they just completely fucked it. But it was still a fun game, enjoyable game. And I think everyone's just sort of forgotten about it now. It was like 8 years in development, and now it's just forgotten. That's a bit sad. Interestingly, my overrated game, which is just because it's been no one stops talking about it, is Hades. I've not actually played it. I might play it at some point, but just everyone who's played it goes, "Oh my god, it's the best game ever!" And then all of the BAFTAs goes, "Oh my god, it's the best game ever for every reason ever." Oh, it's amazing. That just makes me go, "Oh, you just fuck off. I don't care. It can't be that good." So yeah, that's one.
What if it is?
Controversial
Yeah.
opinion.
You'll have to eat your words. Oh dear. No, I'm just going to.
Can I just give an honourable mention to Just Dance? This is in honour of my daughter, because today she was complaining that Just Dance now only has like sort of 50 people in the waiting room to go into. She's just picked it back up again after a few months hiatus, she was complaining there's only 50 people in the waiting room, whereas there used to be sort of hundreds. And she's saying, why is it not a more popular game? And I'm thinking, well, why isn't it a more popular game? I mean, it's active, it's fun, it's like learning a dance routine. What's not good about that? What's and I feel like that might be an underrated game that maybe needs to. So that's an honourable mention on behalf of my daughter, who never watches the show, so won't even notice.
We'll tell her. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I was just going to have a bit of a rant, really, about one of the latest offerings from PlayStation Plus, which I know shouldn't really rant about because it's free, but I'm still going to. It was the first one that I downloaded when I got my PS5, and that is Wreckfest. I forget if there's a subtitle to it, but basically it's about driving vehicles of various descriptions, smashing them up quite a lot, which you would think I would enjoy, but apparently not. I just tried one sort of race, as it were, and the goal of it was to be the last one that's not exploded, and you're all in a field and you're just driving lawnmowers around, which you'd think, again, I would enjoy, but about halfway through, I was really bored. I was this isn't exciting as I wanted it to be. And then by the end of it, I thought, well, I'm not going to play that again, and I just turned it off. I was very dismissive that day. But yes, and that is why it makes my most overrated game, because if you're going to put it on PlayStation Plus, that must mean it's a half decent game, surely. But for me, that day, it just wasn't. It was really boring. So there is my nominee for that award.
I admired the fact that you said, nope, this is not for me, and just turned it off. Actually, I think that shows, because I'm the sort of person that'll be like, but I should give it more of a go and play this really boring game. So I'm with you on that.
Lovely. Well, I think I did think of a wildcard question earlier, but it has completely gone out of my head, so I'll try and recall it. But while we do that, I'm going to go for a final category for us, which is your best game. It doesn't have to be of this year. It can be of any year. But please do explain. I would love to know. And I'm going to go for Jem. What is your best game?
My best game. I think it's got to be Final Fantasy VII, the original one, because I just have such fond memories of playing it, and I really engaged with the story, and it was a long time ago, and so I don't remember it in detail, but I just have, when I think of it, I have a warm feeling that it was a joyful time. It was a good game. I played it with friends, and when there were bits that I couldn't do, I'd hand the control over to somebody else and they'd do it for me. But I also remember really, really engaging with the story and just really caring about the characters, and also the fact that, and this is a common theme with Final Fantasy games, is that you think you're nearly at the end, and then you suddenly find out you've just finished the intro and you've got a whole other like massive game to go. And I remember having that moment quite a few times. I remember lots of oohs and ahs. I remember crying when people died, and it was just it was really engaging, which is sort of why I haven't played the revamp, because I'm nervous about how that's going to be. So that's my best game.
Thank you very much. I'll chip in with mine now, because just to change it up a little bit. And I'm going to base my answer on one of the games that was within the categories for the 2021 BAFTAs. And it's a kind of a cheat answer because I haven't played it yet. But it's the game that I want to play most, having watched the BAFTAs, and that is Dreams. It just really intrigues me. I want to know what it's like in terms of how much you can actually create. It looks pretty limitless, to be fair, and there's a massive community behind it, and some absolutely bonkers creations have already been made. And I'm just really intrigued to see what it's like, how it plays, and just in general, it's probably more of a game design game than an actual game. But you can make your own levels and things, which is really cool as well. But I'd be intrigued to play it the most out of all of the games that have been nominated and awarded. So that is my answer. It's not really an answer because I haven't played it, but it's the one I want to play the most. So that would be mine. Okay, and I'm going to pick Matt next. What would be your best game?
Well, yeah, you're right. Dreams is... I've played a lot of Dreams. Got a little creation I can show at some point.
Oh, awesome.
Quite cool. It is literally just a game engine that is extremely accessible.
Cool.
And I would have had that as the most, an incredible first game to show a child, because that would be amazing. From obviously last year, it'd have to be The Last of Us Part 2. Completely transcendent gaming experience, to be honest.
Awesome. Caroline?
Me, yeah, sorry. Yes. I was just reminding myself to download the trial of Dreams on PlayStation.
Yes.
I was watching that going, oh, cool. My best game, my notes are a paragraph long for this because it changes every week. And I'm so aware that I'm a game slut, if you will. I'm in a mad, tempestuous love with Animal Crossing right now, but in a week, I'm also madly in love with Elder Scrolls Online at the moment. It's basically whether we're sitting upstairs or downstairs, whether I'm playing one or the other. And again, I'm late to the party on Elder Scrolls Online, but apparently it was shit when it was released anyway. So I'm getting... And what really has pleased me about it is because I love Skyrim, and I was really worried about playing Skyrim with other people because I don't like games where other people can get at you. But what I've really enjoyed about it is that going into the Elder Scrolls Online world feels like walking down the street, in the sense that most people won't interact with you. There's if they don't know you, they leave you alone, and it doesn't interfere with you. I've just been running around doing quests on my own, and it's been great, and I'm happy. And occasionally I see somebody go past on a burning tiger, but that's cool. That's their thing, and it's fine. I'm out of love with Rust at the moment, because they did an update where the HDRP stuff, they tried to make it look all pretty, and it's really ruined the landscape. One of the things I loved about Rust was how it was undulating and there was trees and stuff, but it feels a lot more open, a lot more designed for PvP now, rather than running off and hiding and building your own little huts in the woods. They also added a thing where people can buy a boombox, as we used to call them. That's a stereo sound thing, and people can record sounds on it and then play it at people repeatedly.
That's weird.
Not a fun feature in a world that's known for having the most toxic players as well. It's no. But finally I clicked and I had more things written, but then Jem started talking and I thought, I bet she's going to say Divinity Original Sin 2. And I thought, why didn't I think of that? That was the best game of the last year. And so since Jem didn't say it, I'm because Divinity Original Sin 2 was everything I wanted out of multiplayer, D&D style, fantasy, turn-based fighting, all of those sort of things. And it was great plot. I actually got into the plot. I paid attention. So which again for me is impressive. So I'm going to go with Divinity Original Sin 2, and I cannot wait to get my hands on Baldur's Gate.
I know.
Awesome
I have to
stuff.
get some time, Jen, with some playthroughs.
All right, we've hit 8 o'clock, so I think I should probably wrap up. And it's been an amazing episode. I've actually really enjoyed hosting. I think it went reasonably well. Thank you everyone for joining me. And as always, you can find some GTS content every Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll either be streaming or we'll be podcasting like this evening. But you can always find us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And also you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I think that's all of them. But please do yell at me if I've not said anything. We want you to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you think. Have we awarded some games that you think shouldn't have been awarded? Is there some we've left out? Let us know. Please do. We'd love to hear lots more from you. So until next time, I'm just going to say cheerio. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yay!
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.